So last night it was revealed that this will be the final chapter in the prequel part of the Dragon Ball Super superhero manga, the adaptation. And starting next month with the next manga chapter, it's going to begin going into the story that was actually in the film. Now, we don't know exactly what's going to happen with that, where they're going to start, but I'm going to give some theories in future videos coming up this week and probably this weekend. So stay tuned for that early next week. So, right now, I want to go through some images that were put out by DBS Hype from Dragon Ball Super Manga Chapter 90. The chapter will be out in a few days, but if you want an early sneak peek as to what's going on, we're going to discuss it today. And I do not have translations yet for these images. That's going to be coming later. Of course, as always, I will cover the content here on the channel and give you my thoughts and my opinion, and of course, I always welcome yours down in the comments below. This is a very polarizing manga chapter, or manga arc, I mean. But now that we're going into the movie stuff, I'm wondering how they're going to pull that off. So, first of all, the image you see on your screen is the colored page. I think it's beautiful. I think it's gorgeous. Whenever Toro does, like, colored stuff, it always looks great. You know, here we have Trunks, we have Dr. Hedo, we have Goten, we have Mine, we have the classmates. So this has pretty much been the Dragon Ball Super superhero prequel story. So moving on to the first image here. Now, once again, I want to reiterate, I do not have context for this just yet. We'll get full context for sure, probably tomorrow, if not later today, but I'm going to assume it'll be tomorrow. So here we are with the first image. Obviously, Saiyaman X1, Saiyaman X2, this one right here, Saiyaman X2, kicking the crap out of somebody. If you saw my video the other day that I put out, the chapter begins with Goten on a bus. Well, it doesn't start there, but it ends with him on a bus, and then another beta model shows up. So we're probably going to pick it up from there, but it looks like he's dealing with some bank robbers or typical human villains, as you can see right there. Next image that I'm going to show you, once again, Saiyaman X2 pummeling somebody in the streets of what appears to be West City or the Western capital, depending on what translation you're looking at. More of the stuff with them in school. Now, again, you know, I don't have details on any of this just yet in the context. Here we have Goten and Trunks together in school, and here we have what is indeed a spy robot. Now, I cannot tell from this angle if that's Hachimaru, which is the B spy robot from the movie. It could be an earlier model, but it looks like, and you can tell it's a spy robot, y'all. Like, it doesn't actually say it, but we know this is not a literal, like, living insect, you know, and it looks like it may have bitten or you know, stung Goten in the back of the neck. I'm curious about if that, it can't be Hachimaru because Hachimaru killed Magenta in the Dragon Ball Super superhero story, but it could be maybe an unfinished version. I do not know. More of the classmates. Hey, look, he plays drums. I love the way they drew this character. I love his hair. I love his face. I love his eyes. You know, really cool stuff here. Like, as far as the art goes, I think Taro did a really good job with the art in this chapter so far. Here we have, it says here, Rain Jack Dance Party. So this scene right here, y'all, reminds me so much of Back to the Future, the Enchantment Under the Sea dance. This reminds me so much of that scene. You know, every time I see a movie or a comic that has like a school dance, you know, and obviously, you know, school dances have been a thing for decades, right? Decades. Like, I don't even know when they started, yo. It always reminds me for some reason of that movie. So that's pretty cool that we're seeing some stuff like that here in the slice of life stuff. Here we have Mai all dressed up with Trunks behind her. Now, I don't know if this is the quote-unquote date that Trunks is trying to get with her, or if there, again, no context about where this armor came from. No information on that yet, but I'll get that to you guys soon. Goten. Now, this is interesting. We have Trunks and Dr. Hedo. So, what I'm a little tiny bit confused about here, and again, when we have context, I'll go into it. Why is Dr. Hedo there? Is he disguising himself as a student? Is he actually at that party? These pages may also be out of order. So, it's best to kind of know and remember that. Moving on to the next manga panel, we have Mai in action, appearing to be holding some kind of gun. Don't really know what that is or who she's fighting. And that guy on the left there looks a lot like, well, it probably is the beta model that we saw in the previous chapter. So maybe he's not dead. Maybe he's still alive. But then why is Dr. Hedo surprised? You know, the chapter is going to go in some pretty interesting directions that are unexpected. So maybe it'll be a better chapter than last month. I mean, I really don't know. Next image right here, still at the ball, and it looks like in this situation, it looks like Beta may actually be hooking up with somebody, or at least pretending to. And then we have Krillin and the police force showing up. Now, I've talked about this in the past, and I'm going to talk about it again. Krillin arresting Dr. Hedo is weird, considering that in the Dragon Ball Superhero movie, they don't really interact that much except for after Cell Max is destroyed. And there's no implication in there that Krillin, like, there's nothing there that Krillin knows who he is. Now, it doesn't mean they can't make it work. Plus, you have to also remember that the manga, the anime, and the movies do follow somewhat different continuities. There's slight changes in each one, and we're about to begin the adaptation, so they might change a lot more than we know. But, you know, I don't like the idea of Krillin being the one to actually arrest him, but we'll see where that goes. So that might not necessarily mean that he's going to arrest him. This is a different image here. Saiyaman X1 and Saiyaman X2. It looks like Krillin found out that it was them. See, as you can see right there, Krillin's looking at them. So, you know, the secret identity of Saiyaman X1 and 2 is over. And I feel like this is near the end of the chapter, because I feel like they're going to wrap up this story with their identity being revealed. Moving on to the next chapter, here we have the next image, Dr. Hedo with one of his prototype androids, and the Saiyamans and Krillin show up. So it does look like, and again, these may be out of order, it does look like at some point Krillin, Saiyaman X1 and 2 show up at the laboratory to arrest Dr. Hedo. So I think that kind of tells me that Krillin knows who he is. This is not that far off. Now, this right here is interesting. So I'm not entirely sure, based on the stitches of this thing, I'm not entirely sure if this is actually a fully, I'm not sure if this is actually like some kind of android or some kind of hybrid, like, bio creature, but it's a giant dinosaur looking thing. And this type of stuff I love because it's not traditional Dragon Ball. Like, usually the dinosaurs we see are not fighters, or it's dragons. Here we have a dinosaur / dragon stitched together by Dr. Hedo, and that appears to be like the new enemy of them. Like, that's kind of his secret weapon. As you can see there in the lower left, you know, I'm not sure what he's saying, but that you can figure this out, by context, that his way of fighting against the Saiyamans and the Krillin, the police force, is with this big dinosaur that you see right there on your screen. Next image, we have some action. Saiyaman X1, Saiyaman X2 fighting the dinosaur. He grabs, one of them. The battle continues. And again, I know that a lot of folks aren't going to be into this because we just got done with the Granola arc, and that featured like Ultra Ego Vegeta, Gas, Black Frieza, and all these crazy abilities. And this arc is much more down to earth, which is why I'm glad this didn't last very long. I'm glad that they're going to move forward with the story because, I think if this arc had taken place, I think if we got slice of life Goten and Trunks stories after Superhero, building to something bigger, I feel like at that point, people would be a lot more accepting of this arc. But I talked to multiple friends, y'all, who told me directly they are not even reading the manga because they don't care. A lot of Dragon Ball fans do not give a damn about this arc. It's the sad truth. Some of y'all do, some of y'all don't. But at least they didn't drag it on for too long. You know what I mean? Good action panel right there, though. Nothing really to analyze. Just it's a good action panel. Next one here, we have another action panel. And again, great art here. When Toyotaro really puts his heart into the art, it's great. You can sometimes tell that it's not always that great. And his storytelling definitely needs a lot of work. But the art here, I think, is phenomenal. Maybe because he knew that it's going to be a climax of the prequel arc. Next, the prequel superhero stuff. Next one here, more of the fighting on the dinosaur's back. Trunks is there, Krillin. They're all working together to beat this thing. I find it really interesting that this creature right here is kind of like a giant. And it kind of reminds me, and it's not the same thing, but they're fighting a giant creature that's bigger than them by several feet. kind of like Cell Max. Obviously, Cell Max is bigger than this thing, clearly, but one can easily tell that it's kind of funny how this arc is going to climax with a battle with a giant thing, and then there's the giant thing right there. So moving on to the next panel, again, more action. Them trying to defeat this damn thing. Goten and Trunks, Saiyaman X1 and 2 working together. Like, hopefully they will do again. Well, we know they do it again in the Cell Max fight. I just wonder if Toyotaro was going to actually, like, if he's going to actually show more of that, skip it, or just show what we saw in the movie. There's a lot of things he could do, and I don't know what. It's not really up to him, y'all. It's up to Shueisha and what they want and what Toriyama's okay with. Next image here. So they power up into Super Saiyan. Okay, a lot of people were saying, wait a minute, they did not turn Super Saiyan in the movie. Why? Well, I don't know why. That's the truth. I do not know why Goten and Trunks did not go Super Saiyan in the film, but we're seeing them go Super Saiyan here. I think a lot of folks thought that they forgot how to do it, kind of like how they messed up the fusion. I don't think that's the case, y'all. I just think that when Cell Max came out, their initial thought was to fuse, and then they just sort of, did it and messed up the finger fusion. Not that they forgot how to do Super Saiyan, but this blow right here, this sort of lunging, like Superman type of blow to the gut of this monster, I love it because it really reminds me of Gamma's sacrifice, Gamma 2's big sacrifice from space. It's not exactly the same thing, but it is very similar. And again, more good art. I respect it. I want to get more context, but so far so good. And here we have Trunks literally ripping through this thing. Once again, I want to always remind you guys that the violence in the manga is usually higher than in the anime because of the fact that there's no TV limitations or guidelines for the manga because it's just a manga. There's different laws over there in Japan and rules when it comes to manga versus anime. So manga will always be, well, I can't say always, but traditionally manga, especially with Dragon Ball, has been more violent, even the old manga. So this thing's falling apart. I mean, look at this, this is a huge splash page. This thing falls completely apart thanks to Trunks. Once again, Trunks is the hero of the prequel story. They're giving each other daps. Dr. Hedo's losing it. Here we have the pose, of course, and here we have Krillin arresting Dr. Hedo. Like I told you guys, I told y'all, I said, Dr. Hedo's going to jail at the end of this chapter or near the end. And there you have it. The dude is getting locked up. And Krillin is the one that arrested him. So I said at the beginning of this, is Krillin going to be the one to do it? And I guess that he is. Ultimately, it's not a plot hole. I just thought it would be interesting if Krillin kind of recognized him from the movie. But once again, you can tell that they probably did not plan to go this route and do the prequel story of the manga when they first wrote the movie. It's not it's not like it's that hard to figure this out, the Dragon Ball Super story, they make it up as they go along. We got a couple more images left. They do. Like Toriyama's always done this, and he's planned out some things, but not everything. And it's clear that not this. Here we have what looks like all the Alpha units being taken in. So it's not just Dr. Hedo. The Alpha, I think that's Beta there. You see him right there in the middle of the panel on his knees. Here we have what looks to be, that's very interesting, a picture of Clean God with Dr. Hedo. That's awesome because Dr. Hedo's a fanboy of superheroes. And now Krillin has gotten his hands on the Dr. Garo/Jiro secret data disk. So I wonder if Krillin had time to analyze it or if he just didn't care. It's interesting. I have this feeling though that who's Krillin married to, y'all? 18. So you would think that 18 would have knowledge about all this, right? Maybe not, but 18, she may not have known who Cell was, but I feel like she had to have had some kind of knowledge about other projects, right? I mean, wouldn't that make sense? Maybe she didn't. But that'd be a good person to ask. That's his own wife, so she would know. And then here we have Dr. Hedo in jail. There we have Hachimaru. That is definitively Hachimaru. And the Hachimaru is, of course, spying on things while he's in there. And this is, of course, literally leading right to the beginning of the film where Magenta goes to break him out of jail, and then we have Dragon Ball Super Superhero. So there you go, y'all. It's going in. What do you think? Let me know. I'll see y'all real soon with the full translations and all that, and the summary. And of course, the review will also be up soon. Take care. See you soon.